Good afternoon, Keith Tebow, FRCMedia. Thank you for joining us on this late Tuesday afternoon. We talked with one of the new Fall River City Councilors last week to get his look at things after 6 months in office. We're going to talk to another relatively new freshman city councilor right now. I'm pleased to be joined by Christopher Peckham. Councilor, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well. So let me just ask you, 6 months in as a freshman Fall River City Councilor, what are some of the things that have maybe surprised you, things that maybe threw you off a little bit, and some of the things that you're enjoying doing after the first 6 months?
Well, it's definitely a learning curve. For instance, when you're on the council floor, things to say, and I got corrected the last city council meeting, corrective criticism. I called for a point of interest instead of a point of order. Things like that I'm getting used to, the meetings themselves, and they're becoming easier as I go along. Things that have surprised me is the amount of attention from the community. That's a big part of why I ran, and I get a lot of calls for help, and I'm able to do so, and that makes me feel like I'm completing the reason I ran for the position,
How has the response been from your colleagues, city council president and vice president and other colleagues helping you out when you have some questions?
My mic keeps muting. I apologize, Keith. Cliff and Pam have been excellent right from the jump when it came to questions and protocol, what to do. You know what I'm saying? They were excellent. They came to us right away, said, whatever you need, let us know. We know the three of you are new to this. Whatever you need, feel free to reach out. And they've been excellent. Working with the other councilors, excellent as well. I feel that we have a great team, a well-rounded team. When it comes to, for instance, everybody knows I'm a public safety guy. Sean's a great finance guy. Linda's great with constituent services. Leo, Trot with the environment. Michelle, the budget, she tears it apart. I think we have a great team, all 9 of us.
By the way, I'm the one that's muting your mic. I can unmute it from here. It's just that I get feedback hearing myself through your computer. So that's the internet part there. So let me just ask you, you talked about your public safety background. Obviously, that's something that's been very important to you. How have you been able to use that to get some information from public safety officials that you feel it's important for you to be as a city councilor?
The new chief's been phenomenal. The mayor as well when it comes to public safety. Every time I have an issue or a question, people come to me with public safety issues. I'll go to the mayor and then go to the chief, and both of them, first, second ring, pick up the phone right away. The chief especially, very community minded, proactive. I usually talk to him maybe daily or every other day to see what's going on. I believe that working relationship is excellent, and we got a great chief.
Speaking of police, actually tonight, after you're done with us here, you're going to be preparing for a finance committee meeting where you're going to be meeting with public safety officials to talk about their needs for the coming year. From what I understand, that may be going into executive session. What do you hope to hear tonight from those individuals that can help you?
As I stated in the last city council meeting, I want to know exactly what they need. I know in the past, chiefs and this goes back quite a few years. They try to stay conservative. I just put it all out there. Tell us what you need. We'll pick it apart. And that way nothing goes unfunded. At the end of the year, we spend the money that's allocated to that department, and we're not giving it back and coming up with the issue we had at the last city council meeting where supply money had gone back and we were having people donating supplies during COVID. So there was some miscommunication, and having this meeting tonight might clarify that.
One of the questions, and we're live on our Facebook page right now, and we got a question from that was brought up in the last council meeting. There was a transfer of money, $480,000 from the police department budget from fiscal year 2020. That was last year's budget. People are still confused about the inner workings of a budget. And when you're talking with constituents, how difficult is it to sort of make that distinction, especially when budget time? There are rules and actually state laws and regulations that you have to follow when it comes to money at the end of the fiscal year. How difficult that is that to translate that to people when they see, looks like you're moving money from the police and moving it to another department?
To be honest, I didn't understand it at first and had to ask some questions. But once it was explained to me, it makes perfect sense. It's law. Whatever funds are left over in a specific budget must go back to the general fund and then reallocated in the next budget. Or if there's a deficit, it can go there. I hope that answers the question. It's something that needs to be done. I think the timing is what confused people with the defund the police movement and the press conference, and then the money was moved a day or two later. I think that's what confused people the most, and why there were so many questions.
What other committees do you serve on? And I know obviously public safety is a big one for you, but what other committees do you serve on, and how have those committee assignments gone for you thus far?
I'm on the environmental committee with Trot. That's another one that I would love to learn more about. I'm glad I was put on that. I know Trot's excellent with that within the city. I also am a liaison to the neighborhood associations, which I love because the neighborhood association presidents are very proactive with public safety. So I'm able to go back and forth with them and hear their complaints, their concerns. And actually, I get a lot of positive feedback with the police department being in their neighborhoods. They're happy to see them. Down by the waterfront, we have a walk and beat sometimes down there. So I'll get phone calls saying, "Hey, can you thank the chief for having the cops down there? It was appreciated. We feel safer." So I think all of them kind of go hand in hand. Especially environmental can go along with public safety as well. There's a lot of environmental concerns that roadways can fit into environmental concerns, sidewalks, stuff like that. And I know Councilor Lee is big on the trash and the recycling, so I'd like to learn a lot from him.
Now, as we get toward the second half of the year, obviously all 9 of you in the city council had to do things a little differently once the pandemic hit. Did you feel that even though you were new, did you feel that even during that period where the council didn't meet for quite some time, that you were still able to meet the needs of your constituents and get as much done as you could?
I definitely did get some things done. It would have been nicer to be able to be out in the public and talking to people and be able to be face to face with people. But I have a city phone. It's the number's on the city website. So I was fielding calls, and most of it was a lot of traffic stuff like North Main and Weaver Street, or signs that needed to be put up. For instance, I just got a phone call last week about a crosswalk that needed to be painted, and DCM, Mr. Perry's been phenomenal when it comes to stuff like that. So did COVID hold us back a little bit? Yeah, when it came to constituent affairs, I believe so, because we weren't able to have that face-to-face interaction, but that's what technology is for now too.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of, making calls to these department heads, you've mentioned a few already, the police and the fire chief and Mr. Perry and DCM. Do you feel you're getting a lot of a good cooperation from the department heads, working well? And, that also extends obviously to the mayor's office. So do you feel you're getting good communication from the people you need to reach out to?
So far, not one complaint. Every time I call a department, they're either there or they call me back within the day or the following day, whenever they have a chance. I've yet to call a department head or a specific department within the government center and not receive a phone call back.
As we wrap up here, is there one thing that you'd like to try to see achieved before the end of this calendar year? Obviously, beginning, believe it or not, in January, it's an odd year and you've got to start running for re-election. But before that, are you hoping that you wanted to get things done in this first year that maybe you haven't gotten to yet, that hopefully you'll have time still to do between now and the end of this calendar year?
It's actually a very good question. I would love to see, now, Keith, when you say that, do you mean myself or the council in general?
Well, I would say both.
I obviously being a public safety guy, and I know people are probably going to stop getting sick of hearing that. I would like to see the crime rate come down quite a bit. It spiked over the last week or two. It quieted down, thank God, because it was pretty. The uptick was pretty high for a while there. By the end of the year, I would love to see the numbers come down, and more importantly, I would love to see our OD numbers come down. I actually got them yesterday, I believe. Off the top of my head, I can give you the numbers. I have them right here.
And are these numbers monthly or?
This is for the year up until last week. There was 340 overdoses and 31 deaths so far. And the reason I got those numbers is I kept seeing a lot of people ask on Facebook for them. With COVID and everything else going on, the ODs kind of went by the wayside when it was talked about on Facebook, not specifically by the politicians, just in general. So I wanted to get the numbers, and at the end of every month, I'm hoping to get them.
Yeah, and that is actually something that we talked about this at the beginning of COVID. The focus was so much on COVID, and then you had school children who were learning remotely and not in school much longer. And then there was some of these other issues that sort of went by the wayside. Do you know with those numbers, 341 and 31, I believe you said, do you know how they compare to, say, last year at all?
I don't. I can get those numbers if you want them. I can find out where we were at this time last year, but I don't have those numbers as of right now.
Yeah. Well, those are always helpful. All right, City Councilor Christopher Peckham, thank you for joining me, and all the best. And we'll talk again soon. I appreciate your time.
Sure. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Christopher Peckham, City Councilor, freshman City Councilor, one of 3 City Councilors in the city of Fall River this year. I want to thank you for joining us as well at FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great rest of your day.